Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy Danny Plays here, back with another video. And today's video, well, yeah, we have 3 videos up today, so I don't really have to say that. But yeah. So I'm sorry this is a little late again because I was playing with my friends all day. We had some crack playing Gang Beasts, and yeah. So I've been a busy man today, and yeah. So, and what's kind of exciting as well is I'm seeing Spider-Man on the way home today. I know you're probably saying, wait, today it's only Friday, like right now. I thought, like you know. I thought you were recording all of them today, but it's actually basically Saturday where I am right now because it's midnight, so I'm basically seeing Spider-Man on the way home today, so I'm so pumped for it. But yeah, anyway, today we're going to be reviewing Spider-Man Homecoming, which is the reboot, yeah, basically the reboot, which is Spider-Man coming to the MCU, which is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which means basically Spider-Man is a part of the storyline now of Marvel. He's like a part of Captain America's universe, Iron Man's universe, and, you know, all like that. And yeah, this movie was released in 2017. I actually really liked it when it came out, but yeah. Let's get straight into the review, I guess, then. If you do enjoy, you know, smash the like button and subscribe and hit the bell so it's a video I upload. Let's get straight into it. So, Tom Holland as Peter Parker. Some people say he's the worst interpretation. Some people say he's the best interpretation. But yeah, he is. I actually do really like him. He's a really good interpretation of Spider-Man or Peter Parker, whatever. But what am I guess? And yeah, people say also that he has the kind of personality as Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. Because, like, you know, I don't know, that makes no sense, but like I don't really know how people see that, but people say that for some reason. But oh yeah, people say that because he kind of has the best, like, Peter Parker, if that makes sense. Tobey had the best Peter Parker too, and then Andrew had the best Spider-Man, which, you know, Tom also has the best Spider-Man as well. It's hard to explain, but yeah, Tom Holland's Peter Parker is brilliant. It's really good interpretation. Now, let me talk about the love interest for this movie. I was confused at first why freaking Liz Allen was the love interest. I was happy though. I didn't mind that Liz Allen was the love interest in this movie. I was just a little shocked that it took like maybe a new direct, if that makes sense. But I am happy that they tried to take a new look with it, a new like, direction. Because usually I thought when I going into this movie, I mean when I first watched the trailer, I thought I was going to see Peter like crushing on MJ or something, or crushing on freaking Gwen Stacy or something like that. But there is no MJ or Gwen Stacy in this universe. I know you're probably saying, what about the MJ that Peter is in a relationship with now? Well, I don't really count that as Mary Jane because her actual name is Michelle Jones, not Mary Jane. So yeah, she still counts as MJ though. But yeah, but yeah, I don't really know why they didn't just go Mary Jane for Michelle Jones. But okay, just wanted to say that anyway. I also love the interactions with Peter and Ned. Ned is Peter's best friend, and I love that all that Ned wants to do is build the Lego Death Star with Peter. He's just like, but because Peter's Spider-Man, he can't because he just doesn't have time. And yeah, another thing I do, well, not another thing, well, a thing I hate in this movie happens throughout a lot of the movies actually with Spider-Man in it. So you guys, if you guys know Robert Downey Jr., he actually plays Iron Man in this movie, Tony Stark. You know, he was the first person to get a movie that was a superhero movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So yeah, and what Iron Man's role is in this movie is he's Peter's mentor, and he teaches Peter to be better and to stick to the ground and just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And yeah, well, of course we see Peter do the opposite all the time. But anyway, basically, what I hate about the Spider-Man is he's such a spoiled brat. He's just such a spoiled brat. I see everyone talking about this. Tom Holland Spider-Man is such a spoiled brat. I know that's a bad word to say. It was not really a bad word. It's not. I don't count that as a bad word, but he gets everything. If you don't know what I'm talking about, like, so basically at the start basically when he came into the MCU, basically, Tony Stark just straight away gave him tech. Spider-Man Homecoming, he has Tony Stark tech. Spider-Man Far From Home, Stark Tech, and he basically has Spider-Man Tech Stark Tech in Spider-Man No Way Home because he has the Iron Spider suit on. So yeah, I just don't like that he gets everything from Stark into like Stark Industries. Like it's just no. Like I want him to build his own stuff. Like he built his own homemade suit. I actually really like his homemade suit that he made. It's an okay like start for his suit, but then he gets an awesome suit with Oh yeah, let me talk about the expressive eyes, the eyes move, which I really like. I like that with Spider-Man. Eyes like that. And but yeah, anyway, he gets a suit first of all, and then he starts being selfish with the suit and reckless, I should say. And then just gets taken off him. And he's like, okay, I kind of want the suit back and all. I'll get to that later. Let me just talk about it a little more. Okay, Michael Keaton is in this movie. Absolutely love Michael Keaton. He's one of my favorite actors, and I love his interpretation of Vulture. This Vulture is the main villain of this movie. And yeah, so basically what Vulture wants to do in this movie, what his evil plan is he wants to steal Stark tech to get some money, I guess. And yeah, he also can make alien weapons from the Shatari from back on the Avengers 2012, which I really like. That he's using those kind of weapons, but yeah, so I do like Vulture in this movie. I mean, like, so let me just talk about this. I'll talk about this when I'm reviewing Spider-Man Far From Home as well, but which will probably be later, really late probably. I'll do it. But what happens is every Spider-Man villain in Tom Holland's Spider-Man, is every villain that he fights is related somehow into Tony Stark. Well, not even sometimes related, but they just have a connection to Tony Stark. I won't go to Mysterio yet, but I'll start by saying Vulture. What Vulture's plan is, like I said, stealing Stark tech. He doesn't try to he doesn't try to kill Spider-Man for no reason or anything. He doesn't try to just rob banks or not just like that. Like he just tries to go for Stark tech. And I'll talk about Mysterio when I'm reviewing Far From Home. So yeah, I do like Vulture though. Just, he's a Stark. He's an Iron Man villain. People call him, not really a Spider-Man villain in this movie. But Flash Thompson's also in this movie. I forgot to talk about the Flash Thompson in The Amazing Spider-Man, but he was actually The Amazing Spider-Man. Flash Thompson was good, one of my favorites. But I do like Tony Revoloni as Flash Thompson. He is okay. He's not the best, but I love the way he says "Hey, Penis Barker." So yeah, that's funny. So yeah, and I also another thing I like is so obviously we can see throughout the movie that Peter likes Liz. And the reason Michelle, or MJ, I just call her, MJ just sits beside, like, she tries to stay as close as Peter as possible, because secretly she kind of likes Peter, but she doesn't want to let on because she thinks she'll get, like, bullied or something I don't know. But but yeah, so I actually kind of like that. It's kind of sad that Peter's not paying much attention to her. Of course, he later will in Far From Home, the next movie that comes out, but he's not paying much attention to her yet. But yeah, did I talk about Aunt May? No, I didn't talk about Aunt May. Aunt May is good in this movie. She's again in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Aunt May was old. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, she was a little young but still a little bit old. Like, well, not that old, but she was young, I should say. But now this Aunt May is even younger, even freaking younger. And yeah, so Aunt May is good in this movie. She cares about Peter a lot. We haven't got any references to Uncle. Actually, no, we have gotten some references to Uncle Ben, but we haven't seen Uncle Ben in the MCU yet. But we have seen references to him in Far From Home, which I'll get to when I'm reviewing that movie. But so yeah, I like when Peter and Ned are going to the party when they get invited by Liz. And, Peter's struggling what to do because Ned says to put the Spider-Man costume on and, show that Peter and Spider-Man are friends and like that and all, to get popularity in school. I love the way that Peter struggles, he thinks he's being reckless, like, doing this. So then he's like, I don't know what to do. Then he sees an explosion in the distance and sees that he has to go do that in actual superhero work and stop being reckless. And which I really liked, which is a really good decision. I'm really glad that he didn't go into that party. That's the Spider-Man saying, "Oh, I'm friends with Peter Parker." But yeah. So it's a hard choice sometimes. Being a superhero has consequences. And yeah, but the first thing, okay, I really like this. The explosion that Spider-Man saw in the distance was the Shatari weapons, and it was Herman Schultz. Actually, was it Herman Schultz? I can't remember if the original Shocker was Herman Schultz. I'm pretty sure it was though. But yeah, anyway, we had Shocker. We actually saw him. We didn't see. I'll talk about Shocker in a minute. But we also see Aaron Davis. If you don't know who Aaron Davis is, it's kind of. It's just like if you guys know Spider-Man Miles Morales, right? He becomes in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. Miles Morales becomes Spider-Man when Peter Parker dies, and Aaron Davis, believe it or not, is Miles's uncle, and Aaron actually even mentions Miles in this movie as well, saying that he has a nephew that lives around here and he doesn't want those dangerous weapons around here. So Miles Morales basically is in the MCU, but we haven't seen who he is yet. So I think that we are going to get a Miles Morales movie in the MCU eventually. So I do think Miles is kind of already confirmed, because why would they put Aaron Davis in there saying that, oh, I have a nephew? No, that's just a missed opportunity, like, you know. But anyway, yeah. So I like the chase scene where Spider-Man chases the people that were selling the weapons down. That was nice, you know. Well, that was a nice chase scene. And then Vulture swoops down, and it was so epic because Peter was like, "Oh, what the hell, bro? What the hell?" And he was like, he didn't know what to do because this is Vulture's kind of like his first like really big villain. He didn't know what to do because he's like, "Oh, okay, how do I fight? Okay, I'm just gonna pull a parachute and run away." But yeah. So then Tony Stark saves him from drowning because Vulture dropped him in a lake, and yeah. So I do like the conversations. I do like the interactions with Tony Stark and Peter Parker, but you know, he is a spoiled brat Peter Parker is. I also like the fight scene between Spider-Man and the ATM robbers with the alien weapons. That's a pretty good fight scene. I love the banter as well. I love that the robbers actually have Avengers masks on. They have a Hulk mask, I have an Iron Man mask, Captain America mask, and Thor mask. It's like really funny. I remember seeing that in the trailer and started laughing. But yeah, so that's pretty good. I love that at the start as well. Do you know that song, the AEO song, Let's Go? The AEO Let's Go song? That's a pretty good song. It's kind of vibey. It's not, well, I don't listen to it daily, 24/7, but like, it is an okay vibey song, like. And I love that song's just playing with Spider-Man's kind of messing up sometimes and stopping crime and just keeps messing up, and then yeah. But yeah, I like that. And I like them scenes. I like them scenes. Let me get to the villains, I guess. Then I've already talked about Vulture, haven't I? I have. So there is. Let me talk about Shocker. Shocker is Shocker's a really underrated character in the comics, and I guess movies and games and that. But in the comics, there's usually two Shockers, right? There's Herman Schultz and there's Mantenna. I can't really pronounce his name sometimes, but Antenna. He's like the cowboy version of Shocker, the more badass version. Herman Schultz is like my least favorite version of Shocker, but we see one version of Shocker in this movie that later gets killed by Vulture because he messed up one of his missions, and then he gives it to another guy, which I don't know his name. Actually, I forgot his real name. And then I just no, I don't like the Shocker. It's hard. I know it's hard to explain, but the Shocker gauntlet in the comics and games and all, Shocker's gauntlets are usually able to be fired from long range, but Shocker can only do damage in close range. But Shocker's weapons are usually far range weapons, which makes him more dangerous, more threat to Spider-Man, because Spider-Man can just be swinging and he could just get, shocked, I guess, by Shocker's gauntlet because they're far range weapons. But like, if Shocker wanted to like surprise attack Spider-Man, he'd have to go like sneak past, like he has to go sneak over to him. Like, that's stupid. Like, why didn't they just give him the far range what's called freaking gauntlets? I know you're probably saying that because Shocker's not the main villain, so they wouldn't want him to be too overpowered. Like, but I would have rather him having the far range gauntlets. But yeah, so. What I was going to talk about? Oh yeah, I'll talk about the scene where Ned finds out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I really like it, but it's unrealistic, the scene is, because the way that Ned is holding the Death Star, the Lego Death Star, when he sees Peter in a Spider-Man suit, and he drops the Lego because he's shocked, and he that's not how Lego breaks, the same in Marvel, but yeah, it doesn't matter anyway. It's a great scene that he's like, "You're the Spider-Man" on YouTube, and then he's like, "No, I'm not. And he's like, "You're on the ceiling, bro." And that was yeah, that was a funny scene. Then later on in the movie, Ned and Peter become so close, and Ned's the guy in the chair. And then Peter talks to Ned about his powers in school, which I really like as well. And yeah, Captain America also has a small cameo in this movie. Like, he's like an inspirational he gives inspirational lines to the people in the PE class, which is nice and cool. And he's also there on TV in detention, which is really funny. But yeah, we have that scene. Let me talk about I don't know how to feel about this one now. I actually do like this one, but I know a lot of people are gonna hate me about this one. Let's say, if you guys remember when Peter takes out the training protocol things out of his suit to make sure that Tony Stark can't find where he is or anything, so he can't track him. So so he doesn't have all the baby tech on right now. So yeah, when Peter puts on that mask and his suit starts becoming like really, really upgraded this time, um, there's an AI talking to him called Karen. Great name. But people didn't like Karen really that much. Like people were saying, oh no, Spider-Man doesn't need a freaking AI talking to him. Like, but for some reason, I really liked Karen. Karen was like great. She gave great inspirational advice to Peter. Like she was like when they were trapped in the damage control place, she was giving like advice to Peter about how to ask Liz out and all, and like how to use how she was teaching Peter how to use his web shooters a little more with different like web combinations with web grenades and all, and she was also just teaching him loads of things. And yeah, I really liked Karen. I'm really sad that they took her out. Like why didn't they keep Karen? I really miss Karen for some reason. She was great. We miss you, Karen. But yeah, I also like the scene where Spider-Man is tracking down the bad guys, and then he tries to stop Vulture from robbing the truck, and it's really cool how Vulture uses the weird tech, the alien Chitauri tech, and yeah, that's really cool how he uses all them because there's like he can like phase through like freaking walls with that Chitauri tech, and that's really cool. And then he traps Spider-Man in the truck, and Spider-Man gets knocked out and then ends up in the damage control place. And yeah, I love that he uses Karen also to get out of that place because they use every combination code on the thing to open the door. And then Peter also finds out that the glowy thing that him and Ned have been carrying around is an explosive bomb. So he goes to Washington D.C. I'm pretty sure that's where it is. Yeah. And then what's called? Sorry, my voice is cracking for some reason. And yeah, so Peter goes to Washington D.C. to stop the I'm so sorry, my mic went dead. I hate when my mic does that. But anyway, so yeah, he goes to Washington D.C. to stop the explosion from happening. His classmates have won the quiz thing that their school is supposed to be winning, and yeah, the MJ doesn't go up in the elevator, but everyone else does. And then the glowy thing explodes in the elevator, and then I like this scene as well. This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Spider-Man has to climb up to the Washington D.C. monument, and Karen actually helps him out here, saying like you have to break the glass, you have to have more momentum on it. And then I like that Peter's actually kind of worrying that he's so far up because he actually hasn't been that high up before. And then he breaks into the Washington D.C. Monument and catches the elevator, but it fails. And then he tries to web sling to the. He catches the elevator I guess, but he was in the elevator this time. It's hard to spin, but he saves the people in the elevator, and I really like the scene because then Karen's he's looking at Liz Peters, and Liz is like thank you and all, and then you just hear Karen saying kiss her, and then a really funny scene is then Peter just falls, and then Flash comes over and says, "Do you know Peter Parker?" Yeah, that was a funny scene. I love the way that Vulture is getting pissed at Spider-Man because he keeps messing up his plans, and yeah, so he finds out that he actually saved it. Oh, actually, I'll get to that in a minute. But so yeah, what else could I talk about? Spider-Man keeps stopping crying and all like that. I guess I can get to one of my favorite Spider-Man fight scenes of all time again. I know I keep saying that in every Spider-Man movie, but the ferry scene, the bit where Spider-Man fighting the criminals on the ferry, one of my favorite scenes of all time. It's so good for some reason. I love it. And yeah, so Vulture appears on that ferry, had a little fight with Spider-Man. The FBI shows up, and because Iron Man called him in. And I love the way that Spider-Man's trying to lie to Iron Man because he doesn't really want him to know what he's doing because he wants to try solve this case by himself and be a big superhero and maybe join the Avengers. And yeah, so I love that. So yeah, Spider-Man and Vulture fight because because Peter Parker's only new to this Spider-Man thing basically. He kind of like fails a lot and gets he kind of he fails a lot, like a ton of times in this scene because he accidentally tears the boat apart. So yeah, the boat starts falling apart. He webs it all up. Karen says he did. You were 98% successful. And then the guy comes up saying, "Yes, Spider-Man," and starts clapping. And then, of course, the web's breaking and the boat is about to fall apart again. And then Iron Man comes to save the day. And then the guy comes up again saying, "Yeah, Iron Man." And, yeah. So, I also love that Peter tried one more attempt to stop the boat from falling apart, because he tried doing that Tobey Maguire thing with the train. But, of course, failed. And, he didn't do it more iconic than Tobey Maguire. And, yeah. But at least he tried. And then he was just sitting on a roof. Peter was just sitting on a roof thinking what he did. He almost killed people tonight by an accident. Vulture got away. And Iron Man flies up to him and says he's going to need a suit back, because this is a very inspirational line here as well. But, oh, my mic just fell out. Okay, sorry, hold on. My charger always falls out for some reason. Now it's just broken or something. I don't know what's wrong with my charger, but it falls out every time. But, yeah, so Iron Man says he's going to need a suit back, because if you're not without, then Peter says, "I'm not without this suit, though." And then Tony goes, like, "If you're not without this suit, then you shouldn't have it." Which kind of means, like, Peter should not just see himself as a suit and just see himself as his own person, if that makes sense. Because Peter's not just a suit, he's an actual person. And then Tony takes the suit off of him. He goes back to Aunt May. Aunt May's been called in the police because she doesn't know where he went. And then, yeah, so Peter's just living his normal life now. He actually builds the Death Star with Ned. He asks Liz out on a date to the homecoming dance. Oh, I forgot to say that this movie is about like a homecoming dance, because it is called Spider-Man Homecoming. So yeah, it's about a homecoming dance, guys. So yeah, just wanted to say that. So yeah, he asks Liz out on a date to the homecoming, and yeah, life is going good without Spider-Man for a little while. So he's gonna just takes a break from Spider-Man, and he goes to pick up Liz for the prom or the homecoming, whatever you call it. And then he knocks on the door, and there's something waiting behind the door. It's Michael Keaton. What a surprise! No, it's Adrian Toomes' Vulture. But yeah, so it turns out that Adrian Toomes, which is the Vulture in this movie, the main villain, is actually Liz's dad. And Peter, it's so awkward. It's so awkward to see this. Peter just like Adrian takes him to the homecoming in the car, and he's like, "Oh, no, please, we're not going in the car." And he's like, "No, I insist." Okay, he's like, "Okay, just take us then." And it's so awkward in the car, and I love how Vulture finds out that Peter is Spider-Man. He's just like, "Oh yeah, you're definitely Spider-Man, because all the things you're telling me that you weren't in DC, the monument when it blew up, and you're just it's hard to explain, but you probably get what I'm saying." He just finds out Peter is Spider-Man, and then he says to Liz going to the homecoming dance place, and Peter will be right there. And then he freaking takes out a gun at Peter. I freaking, Peter should be terrified right now. But, well, of course, he's Spider-Man, but, I don't know, it's kind of I don't know why anyone didn't see Adrian just take out a gun right there, though. That's kind of stupid. But, anyway, Adrian threatens Peter, saying, "If you ever interfere with my business again, I'll kill you and everyone you love." And then Peter's like, okay. And then he goes back into Liz, saying, "Sorry, you don't deserve this," but then he just runs away. And I also love that when he's about to enter the building, MJ sticks the middle finger at him, and and then MJ also probably knows no, she definitely knew, because it's already confirmed. But MJ knew that Peter was Spider-Man from the beginning, because she always was wondering why he disappeared and then Spider-Man just randomly showed up. So she knew that Peter was Spider-Man. But yeah, so Peter went to go to his locker to change into his homemade Spider-Man suit, which looks actually okay, like I said before. And, okay, my voice is getting sore. I've been talking a lot tonight. And, so, yeah, then he gets hit by Shocker's gauntlet. And, yeah, and then they have a little, I don't know why, I know Spider-Man didn't have his web shooters, but Spider-Man has super strength and all, and, all like that. So, I don't know why he didn't just, freaking destroy Shocker there. Shocker was beating the living shit out of Spider-Man there. Sorry, I keep cursing in these videos, but not that big of a deal. People curse, okay. But, yeah, so Shocker beats up Spider-Man for some reason, and I don't know why Spider-Man just doesn't, use his super strength, or just use his strength. Ned has to save him from Shocker, the worst Shocker ever, the worst interpretation of Shocker ever. How did Spider-Man nearly die to Shocker? How, just how? No, I don't, how did he nearly lose to that Shocker, how? How does Ned save him? I know, no, Ned. Don't get me wrong, Ned's a good character, but Ned used he hasn't even used the web shooter once, and he picked up Peter's web shooter and webbed the gauntlet before he hit Spider-Man to kill him. And I just don't know how he saved him there. I don't know how Peter just lost the Shocker. So yeah, then Peter says they stop Shocker, and then Peter says I put my phone in Adrian's car to track him down, and that's smart thinking of Peter because he doesn't need to use tech like Spider Tracer or anything to track the bad guys this time. So he asks Ned to track his phone, and then he says to call Happy Hogan, and he'll know what to do and all. And then Peter swings off, and I love this scene. This is one of my favorite scenes. Flash is driving his date to homecoming, and then Peter just lands in his car saying, "Flash, I need your car and your phone." He's like, "Technically, this is my dad's car," and then he just steals the car, and it's so funny. And then so then Spider-Man. Well, no, let me tell you a funny joke here. Actually, this is I'm not making the joke up, but what happens in the movie is Ned gets Spider-Man to his location where Vulture's lair is, and then the teacher comes in and asks what Ned is doing, and then first of all Ned says, "I'm the guy in the chair," but then the teacher says, "What are you doing here? There's a dance," and then Ned is like, "I'm watching porn." And it's like so funny, and everyone laughed when I was in the cinema. Like, poor Ned, he must have been like embarrassed after saying that to the teacher, but yeah, anyway, Spider-Man enters Vulture's lair. He's like, "Are you surprised that I'm here and all?" And then Adrian's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And then he explains to Peter why he hates Tony Stark, and he actually makes a pretty good point. Actually, he's like, stealing, like, how's it bad that I'm stealing weapons and selling them for money, because your buddy Stark did that and he made a lot of money, and now he's for some reason one of the most popular guys ever. And then that's a pretty good point. Like, Tony did that, like, and he's now one of the biggest things ever. But so Adrian gets his Vulture wings to fly at Spider-Man to try to kill him. It fails miserably. Well, actually, never mind. It doesn't fail miserably. It actually worked out a lot. He wasn't even trying to hit him. He was just trying to break all the things keeping the roof up, so the roof would land on Spider-Man. So yeah, the roof. Well, it's not really a roof. Well, it's kind of a roof. They're in a cave, so the cave just collapses on Spider-Man. And then Vulture gets in his Vulture suit and flies off to the plane that he's going to rob from Tony Stark. And then yeah. And then this is literally my favorite scene in the movie. Peter is trapped under the rubble that he got crushed by, and then he's like, because he's still like a teenager and a kid, and he's still new to this superhero thing, he of course asks for help. He's like, "Please help me, I'm stuck down here, can someone please help me?" And he starts crying, and like he realizes like, "Oh, I can't get out of here." And then he looks at himself in a puddle, like his reflection, and he sees like part of him, Peter Parker, part of him, Spider-Man. And then he remembers the thing Tony said to him, saying, "If you're not without this suit, then you shouldn't have it." Then Peter realizes what that means. He realized that it meant like he's not just a suit, he's Spider-Man. And then this is so epic. Peter's just like, "Come on, Spider-Man. Come on, Spider-Man." And he shouts, he's like, "Oh, come on, Spider-Man." And it starts lifting it. It's like, that just shows how strong Spider-Man is. Like, then he lifts it off and he's like coughing, because smoke onto his face. And then he sees Vulture, so he puts back on his mask, swings over to Vulture. Webs Vulture and flying behind them, but Vulture for some reason doesn't know. And yeah, so then Vulture gets on the plane. Spider-Man's just hanging off the plane, and yeah, Vulture tries to steal some stuff, but then he sees Spider-Man alive on the plane from the security cameras. And then Vulture just goes out of the plane for a few seconds to just try to finish Spider-Man off. So yeah, they start battling on the plane, and then Spider-Man already does like multiple times. He nearly like falls into a propeller and literally just like he nearly goes in half basically. And then the whole plane crashes onto a beach, and then that's where the final battle happens. It's Spider-Man versus Vulture on the beach, and the beach is on fire, all of it basically. And then they start battling, and for some I mean Spider-Man was pretty hurt, but Vulture like beats him up. Vulture like beats the living crap out of him. Peter barely gets any hits on him. It kind of reminded me of when Green Goblin got most of the hits on Peter and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man only got like 4 hits on Green Goblin at that time, and he still won. Actually, it was like 5 hits, but yeah. And then So yeah, that's what Peter does in this movie. He only gets like a few hits. I don't really see that Peter actually kind of stopped him in this movie, because the reason Vulture got defeated in this movie, Vulture was literally about to defeat Spider-Man, because Spider-Man was on the ground and he was about to steal some of Stark's tech, and he's like, time to go home, Pete. And then his glider explodes. I mean, his wings explode, and then that makes him lose. So he's like, okay, that Spider-Man was like, okay, that worked out in my favor. And then of course Adrian's alive, and he what's called, yeah, he goes to prison. They fix up all the rubble on the beach. Spider-Man's really injured. He goes back to school, meets Happy Hogan in the bathroom, and Happy says thank you for everything, and then he goes to the new Avengers building and sees the plane flying off again. And then Tony Stark gives him back his Stark suit from the one he got in the beginning. And yeah, I am tired. I might actually do Far From Home tomorrow, guys, because my throat is sore right now. We're actually really sore. I don't have COVID, don't worry. But yeah, I actually, this might be surprising to you guys, but I actually give Spider-Man Homecoming an 8 out of 10. This is a great movie for me. It also had the Tinker in it, which is, he tinkers with stuff, if that makes sense. And yeah, I give this movie an 8 out of 10. Really good. It has, the suit might not look the best at sometimes, but yeah, it's still a great movie overall. So yeah, also Liz moves away, so yeah. But anyway, yeah, so guys, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new, hit the bell so you don't miss no video I upload, but you don't have to do that whatsoever. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in tomorrow's review for Spider-Man Far From Home, because I'm not doing it tonight for that.